You're listening to the Successors podcast with Kara Oosterhuis on RealAgriculture.com.
Okay, folks, it's time for episode 11 of the Successors podcast. I'm your host, Kara Oosterhuis, and as always, I am so excited to be here with you all, wherever or however you are listening. It has been a hot minute since I've caught up with all of you. You know, at Real Agriculture here, we're back on the road, we're out in the field, life is busy, but hey, it's all good because I get to do what I love. I hope you are doing what you love too. We've got a lot to talk about today, so I'm just going to hop right back into it. Today's guest is one I'm super excited for, and is someone in this industry I think that really gets it. I have here with me Erin Tateson with Alberta Wheat and Barley Commissions. How is it going today?
Great, Kara. Thanks for having me. I'm excited for our chat today.
Absolutely. Okay, so as I mentioned, you are at Alberta Wheat and Barley Commissions. Before we kind of get into your story, do you want to tell me a bit about what you do there and what your position is right now?
Yeah, you betcha. So I am currently the Marketing Communications Manager with the Alberta Wheat and Barley Commission. So yeah, we're a nonprofit organization representing both Alberta wheat and barley farmers in the areas of research and innovation, agronomic extension, market access and development, and along with policy and government relations. So I have the privilege here at the commissions and being a part of the communications team to work really closely with those core areas. And basically, since we're a value-driven organization, all of our value goes back to our stakeholders, which again are wheat and barley farmers here in Alberta. I have the privilege of extending that valuable information and the work that we're doing here at the commissions back to them. So that's kind of it in a nutshell, I'd say, Kara.
So as somebody, I've worked in the communications industry, well, I am in the communications industry, but I've worked on the side you're on as well. There's a lot of different things going on, and there's a lot of different areas that you are involved in. What's your favorite part of your job? What do you like doing?
What I'd say, the part that I love about my job is actually the people that I work with. Kind of thinking internally of some of the staff here at the commissions, our senior manager of policy and government relations, our business development and markets manager, our research team, they're just incredibly knowledgeable people in their field, and they're, working very hard to advance the interests of farmers. And I love working with them. I think that's, a fascinating part of my job is really connecting with, each department and those people and really showcasing the great work that they're doing back to farmers. So I'd say that's, a highlight of my job. And another kind of close second, if you will, is just all the different things that I get exposure to. The agriculture industry is just remarkable at how vast it is. There's so many different elements. Being on the nonprofit side, we're very focused and, those core areas that I mentioned earlier. So having this experience and learning about those areas of agriculture has been fascinating. I, grew up on a farming family in grew up on a farming operation in southeastern Alberta and, grew up having dinner table conversations about, the industry and politics and all that good stuff. And, this exposure in this job has given me a lot of insight into, agriculture politics and, also on the research side of things, how we're trying to innovate and boost bottom lines and lots of those really long-term investments, really looking at what that value is back to farmers over time. And, also the market access and market development piece too. We're a very big producing area here in, Alberta and also Canada. So being largely export-based, getting some, knowledge and insights into that world is really fascinating too. So I guess in a nutshell, I'd say it's just all the learning opportunities and insights I've had into the various areas that's been incredibly cool.
So do you work pretty closely with government as well then when it comes to market access and files like that?
Yes. Yeah, definitely. So, as a nonprofit organization and just with how we're structured, we're always working with the government of the day and, taking a look at anything that's coming down the pipe from both levels. That's not really my area of expertise. I wouldn't say I'm super immersed into those policy issues and topics, but that's what our policy department is here for, and they're they've got their fingers on the pulse of everything going on in that area, and always analyzing how it'll impact farmers at the farm gate. And my job is really to work with them closely, the staff and that team, that is, to make sure that we're conveying and communicating really timely information to farmers on those important files. So we're always working in that space, and
Going back a bit, you mentioned you grew up on a farming operation in southeastern Alberta. Do you want to tell me a bit about where that is and what the operation looked like?
Yeah, you betcha. So, I grew up on a mixed cattle and grain operation in Tilley, Alberta, so in between Brooks and Medicine Hat, along the number 1 highway there, so in the southeast corner of the province. Being kind of a dominantly livestock operation, we ran a cow-calf operation along with some backgrounding as well. We retain our own calves and do some background feeding and a little bit of custom feeding as well. We do have dry land and irrigation acres, which is obviously a lovely mix to have, trying to operate in the Palliser Triangle. So, we're able to use, the dry land acres for pasture for, our livestock, and then, of course, the irrigation acres for putting up feed and forages for our livestock for the winter time. So, that's kind of the general gist of my family's operation there in Tilley.
And who's still involved on the family farm? Are you involved?
No, actually, I'm not as closely involved. I'd say I still get roped into helping at busy times of the year. So, brandings and weanings and all that good stuff. But I'm actually based out of Calgary, Alberta. But my younger brother and also my younger sister are closely, they're involved in the family operation. So, I come from a big family. There's 5 of us kids, and we're all still, here in Alberta, which is really great and not too far from home. So, given I'm in Calgary and my family's farm is in Tilley, I have the privilege of being able to just jump in the car on the weekends and head home for whatever busy thing we've got kind of going on at the farm. So, that's kind of the current setup. The succession, kind of planning part of things has been really interesting to see. And, it's looking like one of my brothers is going to be, the successor of our farm, eventually here. And he's incredibly passionate about it and, innovative. And it's, really cool to see. And I'm always happy to help out, on weekends when I can. So it's good.
There's something about being able to, even if you love the city, there's something about being able to just go home and drive the terribly boring number 1 highway. However, when it's leading you home, there's something nice about it for sure. So talk a bit about that succession conversation now. Like you said, you're not involved with the farm now, but was that something you ever talked about, like in high school? Was that a thought, or was your idea always to kind of go off farm?
To be honest, I knew from a pretty young age that, I wasn't going to be on the family farm forever. I kind of think back to 4-H is actually a really good example. We were in beef 4-H growing up as kids, always had steer projects. And, I was always more interested on maybe the public speaking side of things, whereas, my siblings were just all in with their, livestock and their projects. I think I knew from a young age that, I loved agriculture. I loved being on the farm and the lifestyle and all that good stuff. But I definitely had other aspirations. Growing up, I was very involved in sports. I loved basketball and volleyball, and actually basketball kind of steered my education choices after high school. So, I think I always knew that I loved agriculture and I wanted to be involved in it in some way. But I knew pretty early on, just with how great my siblings were at, working on the farm and how much they really loved the animals and that side of things, operating equipment, all that good stuff, that, I think I had other aspirations and that would be their path. So it's been good. But back to your kind of comment about hopping on the highway, it's super nice to be so close to home and just a couple-hour drive and still be able to, be involved in the industry, or have that have the farm and go back to the farm at any time, and be involved that way and help out where you can. There's always tons of work to do on a farm. So, I love the branding seasons and weaning and all that good stuff. So that's usually when I'm home on the weekends and make sure those weekends are blocked off in the calendar. So.
Yeah, and when there's the giant snowstorm, you aren't coming home, and that's perfect because you probably wouldn't want to feed cows anyways.
Yeah, exactly. You can, I guess, be selective to some extent. Although, yeah, calving is a big one too. Where try to be home as much as I can for that. But yeah, I find I'm often maybe helping out with meals, late night meals, and things like that.
So you mentioned a bit about 4-H. Would you say it's had a big influence on your life? How is it? Obviously, like you said, you weren't overly into showing cattle, doing that side of it, but did you get into communications because of the public speaking? Did that have any correlation there?
Yeah, I never really thought of it that way, but very well could have been a factor. I guess what I'd say, I definitely give a lot of credit to 4-H on the public speaking side. Actually just this past weekend, I had the privilege of judging at the Alberta Young Speakers in Agriculture competition during the Calgary Stampede. And, I do have to say that 4-H and, this AYSA competition, they give young people just such an edge going into school, for one, and then later on in their professional careers, having the ability to present and speak in front of people is a very impactful skill to have, and it's very important. So I guess I give a lot of credit to 4-H on that front, where when I look back on those times when you're a kid and you're preparing for public speaking and you feel like it's absolute torture when you're a 12-year-old kid, but as a professional adult in my career now, I couldn't be more thankful for having exposure to that at a young age. And it's just a confidence builder. And it's been, very helpful for me. I feel very lucky for those opportunities as a young kid.
It'll probably be no surprise to you that I love public speaking, and that's something I competed in the Alberta Young Speakers for agriculture competition as well as Canadian Young Speakers. I wasn't involved in 4-H growing up. However, though, I recently got to judge a 4-H competition, and I was laughing because I've never been like super sporty. It's not really been my thing. And I'm sitting there and I'm judging and I'm going, is this what it feels like to be a parent that's getting to coach? Because I was just so excited, and I'm like, this is my jam. There's something cool about public speaking, and especially if you've been on the other side, to sit and judge it's a lot of fun.
It is a lot of fun, and you are an expert at it, Karen, no doubt about it. It's a really awesome skill to have, and you can always be, fine tuning it, and it's really great for that. But I couldn't agree more. Even just judging over the weekend, it was like, this is it's great to see those kids really put themselves out there, and also I just love the confidence and the creative ideas and big, bold ideas that some of these young people have. I think it's great that the industry is just has a very bright future with kind of the next generation coming up in my eyes, and I just kind of know that from my experience recently this past weekend.
So from all this, not to make it all about this competition, but from the conversations and some of the speeches you got to witness, what were some of the things that stood out? Is there anything that was like, oh, that's really neat? I didn't think we were paying attention to that.
Well, there were some really tricky topics that were, on the selection sheet for the speakers, and I was really impressed by the topics that these young people picked. It was very impressive, and I loved, there were a couple of girls that stood out to me that really had different ideas and different approaches to the topic that they chose. And I thought that was just incredibly cool. And, we kind of know that there's not a lot of one-way solutions to problems anymore. There's lots of different ways we can solve problems. And your approach to those problems and your big, bold ideas are kind of what the industry needs. I think that's super cool to see. So yeah, I guess I'd say that really stood out to me. Again, just kind of going back to my comment that I think the future of the industry is really bright with this next generation. I just really admired those young people and their big, bright ideas. It was very cool to see. So that was impressive to me.
That's really interesting. So you are super busy, as you said. There's things you do outside of work. You come home, you help out, you're judging, you're doing whatever else you probably are busy doing. And of course, you're on the road. You're at shows. It's show season. We're starting to see post-COVID shows are going, and they're back in full speed. So, how do you ensure you still find time for you during all of that? What's kind of your way of stepping away from all those things that keep you busy?
Oh man, that's a great question. What I've been doing is actually scheduling those fun things with friends. So, I love golfing at this time of year. It's a sport I've just picked up in the last few years. And, I like to make sure I've got a tee time in the near future or an evening after work. We've been blessed with a really nice summer here. So that's been great. I guess it sounds crazy that you have to schedule the fun, but I think, scheduling those things to look forward to helps me. And then, of course, just making sure you also take the time to unwind and slow down. And, I think that's a big one that I've had to learn in the last year or so. But it's been very helpful for me and just ensuring that I'm, productive and showing up as kind of my best self every day here at work. So, those would kind of be the two things that I'd say I employ upon myself to do, and it's very beneficial.
So I'm somebody who's always really loved golf, and so I'm totally with you there. But I've only, I think, really realized in the last year how great it is to have a tee time, because there's something about, like, even, a Sunday, you're like, I have so much yard work to do. I have so many different, like, finally I have time to catch up on my things now. But, you're like, okay, I have that 5 o'clock tea time, and by then, it doesn't matter if I'm not done yard work, because I'm going into town and I'm going for a round of golf. Like,
Yeah, totally. It forces you to go, because canceling tea times is, like, a big no-no.
Yeah.
But, and I have to say, too, I love walking 9 holes. Like, I like that. I like being out on a really nice evening and just walking the course after work. I love that. I think it's great exercise and it's a great activity. So listen to some music and be outside in the lovely weather. It's just the best.
And it's so much nicer than I like walks, but I really like walks if I have somebody to talk to, like just going for a walk by myself.
Yeah.
Like, So to go walk the course, yes, absolutely. It keeps you busy.
Yeah, couldn't agree more.
So how does growing up in an environment like you did, being on the farm like that, how would you say it's helped you be more successful in the position you have now?
I guess a few different things. I mean, as I kind of mentioned earlier, Kara, I've grew up in a family where, when we're having supper, it's we're talking about either hockey or agriculture or politics. So I guess just really having kind of that grassroots producer knowledge and just the firsthand knowledge of the issues that farmers and producers are thinking of all the time is super valuable. And, the other one that actually I would say, and it's a little bit random and a total contrast from, my first answer there. I grew up in a big family. I've got 2 brothers and 2 sisters, and, we worked on the farms in the summer, and there was a lot of teamwork involved in that. And, I think back on lots of the things we had to do, and it's just, lots of it kind of makes me laugh. And, but it was all kind of together as a little working unit. And, it's really fun and kind of special, and might be why we're, me and all my siblings are still really close to this day. And we all feel very, compelled to be around the farm and involved to some extent now, even though, we all have, with the exception of my brother and sister, we all have different career aspirations or different paths, but we all do come back at those busy times. Like I mentioned, calving and branding and weaning, where we all try to make those big events. So kind of that teamwork aspect. And I think that teamwork aspect really helped me, in sports. And then, later on in school, I really gravitated towards marketing and like group projects. I just loved being in that collaborative, brainstorming all the time, thinking of really cool ideas. I'm a big believer that, ideas and projects and work is just so, it feels so much more special when you accomplish it with a team. So yeah, I guess that's kind of what I'd say, has maybe, my roots and growing up in that environment has kind of led to some success and really steering some professional decisions and where I wanted to be in my career, now.
So I don't know what this says about me, and I know I understand the value of teamwork, and it is, so important, but I've been nodding along with you and until you said I was in college and I loved group projects, and I'm going, oh my goodness, nope. There is something about group projects that, relying on other people always is, and like I said, maybe that just says something about me. Maybe I'm just a little too wound up tight, but those were the pain of my existence.
Well, that's a very common response I get from people when I tell them that. But yeah, I mean, you'll always have hiccups and things working in those types of environments too, where you're relying on lots of people. Like, no doubt about it. There's no escaping that. But it's kind of funny. I don't know if it was just like I got very very lucky with being around such great people. And like college, as I mentioned, that was kind of my first nudge, I guess, towards marketing when I was, in that, I chose marketing as my major, and I was in that class, and I just really jived with some of my classmates, and I just loved how, we were all very passionate and driven, and, it was a lot of fun. And then, playing team sports, it's kind of the same. You hold each other accountable, and, sometimes you're, working really hard for others too, is an interesting, that team dynamic can be really special, especially when you win or you accomplish big goals, you master that project, whatever it may be. So, no doubt about it. I have received that response from people too, and I'll be the first to admit, not every group project in college went according to plan or swimmingly. But yeah, I guess that was just something that I noticed. I've just always kind of gravitated towards those team collaborative environments. I really do love it.
And that's such a great quality to have. I mean, in a workplace, you need to have that ability to work in a team. So, but I'm realizing as I'm sitting here and talking, I never asked you where you actually even went to school. Talk a bit about what your post-secondary education is.
Yeah, for sure. So, I went to State Polytechnic here in Calgary, Alberta. And actually that decision was geared largely towards my aspirations of playing college basketball. So, I was very excited to get offered a scholarship to State. So I jumped on that opportunity, and I was a State Trojan for 3 years, and absolutely loved the school. Their athletic program was fantastic, but also, the education side of things as well. I was enrolled in the business administration program, and at that time there were 4 kind of major streams as part of the business admin program. So they were marketing, management, accounting, and finance. So I think actually now they might have more streams under that program, like supply chain logistics and I believe HR or something like that. But anyways, back in my day, there was only the 4 major streams. And I actually originally had my eyes set on accounting or finance. And then, in that first year, how they set up the program, you have to kind of try out every single major stream, and then you declare your major in your second year. And it was just a no-brainer in my first year after, getting a little bit of taste of marketing. I really loved it. I loved the the creative side of marketing. And I really didn't know what the potential was for that profession at that time. I just kind of, I think, was running on a gut instinct that I really wanted to pursue that. I'll say my mom and dad maybe weren't as impressed, because I think I had been thinking I'd be going in the accounting or finance stream all along. But marketing was the path I took, and I got my marketing diploma from SAIT and went straight into my career from there.
What was your first step in your career? Where'd you go from there?
So my career, the first step in my career was actually the Ad Farm Marketing Agency right here in Calgary. So, that was an absolutely remarkable experience. And, admittedly, going to State Polytechnic, largely a kind of trades and energy industry-driven school, I think, in my mind, I thought I'd be working for in-house marketing in a large corporation or an energy industry or energy company, or something like that. But I had learned about Ad Farm through a friend and applied to an internship there. And it was just a fantastic experience. I absolutely loved my time there, learning about the marketing agency world, and it was for agriculture. So it was an absolutely perfect fit for me. It was kind of I was able to get back to the industry that I knew and loved. So that was, a really cool kind of first step in my career.
So we grew up like an hour apart, went to the same school, and both worked at Ad Farm. So we got a couple things in common here, Erin.
I know, and it's hilarious that we really haven't crossed paths until, your time at RealAgriculture and my time here at the commissions. It's actually just hilarious. I'm sure we maybe played against each other at a volleyball tournament or something like that when we were kids. But the connection is pretty uncanny.
Yeah. Okay, I'm going to go a little cliche here. Looking back at your 18-year-old self, hindsight is always 20/20. If you could go back and tell your 18-year-old self something, what would it be?
If I could go back and tell my 18-year-old self something, I guess it would be confident, be bold, and the world is your oyster. Which, I guess in summary, it really was. I felt like at that time I was really following my passion. So, which at that time, as I mentioned, it was totally basketball. I was a very committed athlete throughout high school, and that was, my dream at that time. But I guess confidence is a big one. I don't know if it was you grew up on a small farm in southeastern Alberta. Your local town has a total of 400 kids in it, or 400 people, in it. So going to kind of a bigger pond like Calgary, I think I maybe struggled a little bit with confidence in my first, for sure, my first year of college. But I'd say just confidence is a big one. That's what young people really need, and the big, bold ideas, as I mentioned earlier, I think are just are what our industry needs, and will get you a long way. So.
Yep, absolutely. So, as we know, agriculture, it is changing all the time, whether it be on the tech side or the policy side, anything. How do you keep up with that? In your position at Alberta Wheat and Barley, it's crucial you're kind of up with what's going on. What's your kind of go-to on keeping up with it?
Scanning the news every morning, it's just kind of a given in my role. Taking a peek at all the ag media networks, Real Ag included, seeing what's going on out there. Those media outlets have a beat on everything. So just kind of staying up to date with it. Twitter is obviously huge for agriculture, and it's just, Twitter's fantastic because you really do get the kind of raw, authentic ag community, which I really love. And you also have producers, farmers, expressing things they're seeing on their farm, and I think that's really important. So I guess, making sure you take some time to do just kind of scanning the news, social media, kind of seeing what's going on out there. And for myself, I also approach, experts in various areas. I kind of have that lucky privilege here at the commissions where I have access to those experts that are looking at, international markets and the policy and GR side of things, along with research, innovation, and agronomy. So I find I'm often bugging my coworkers and getting kind of their thoughts and opinions on it, and also, connecting with former connections from other, whether it's a personal connection and a friend who's in, working in a corporation that maybe knows about this, that, or the other thing, or, a family member, relative. So yeah, I guess just kind of using those connections to learn more and hear different perspectives is really how I approach it, Kara.
Okay, that's terrific. And unfortunately, we are pretty much out of time here. Any other messages you would like to send to anyone that might be listening?
Yeah, I guess, for the young people out there who might be listening or wondering what their careers and what's in store for them in their career, a piece of advice I definitely have is, just seize every opportunity that comes your way. I've be kind of that yes person. I think I've learned so much from, experiences and, opportunities that have come up that I never in a million years would have thought have come up, and they might scare you or terrify you, but sometimes jumping into those things, you learn so much about, things you might like or things you might dislike. And I guess that's my message is be a yes person, take advantage of every, exciting opportunity that you can.
And that's something that I think we all hear quite often, but really being able to internalize that is key. Like, say yes. It's so big.
Yeah, and actually, to almost like a step B for that too, just approaching it with, a good attitude, being eager and keen just goes such a long way as well. Again, I've found some very interesting opportunities come up, and, they might be incredibly scary, but if you approach it with a good attitude and just a good attitude and a can-do attitude, really great things can happen. So, yeah.
Okay, well, thank you very much for your time, Erin. As always, it is terrific to be able to talk to you.
Awesome, and thank you so much, Kara, for the opportunity to chat with you today. It was a lot of fun.
And thanks to all of you who tuned into episode 11 of the Successors podcast. I hope whatever you are busy doing, you are being safe. It's that time of the year where lots is going on. Everyone is in a gazillion different directions. And those nasty summer storms are a brewing. We just had one rip through here, so please stay safe. As always, if you'd like to provide any comments, feedback, or hey, maybe you just have a good joke you'd like to tell, get a hold of me on Twitter at Kara Oosterhuis, or send me an email, KOOSTERHUIS at RealAgriculture.com. Until next time, stay real, and thanks for listening to The Successors.